In North Wales, there is a place called Maescarmon, the field of Germanus, St. German of Auxerre, great bishop, who was in the area at Easter, going back centuries now, and they conquered the enemy by having the whole Christianized army to exclaim at the top of their voice through the whole valley, "Hallelujah!" And the enemies thought that there was a huge army coming at them because the resonance coming down the valley, and they fled. It is the Hallelujah victory. We are going back to the first wave of light, conquering the dark of paganism. Fairly early on, that light serenely overtook the dark, and there was quite a lot of Christianity coming in to that part of the world. We're talking about Wales. And the saint of the area where I went to university, St. Daniel, had built already in 525 a great sanctuary of Christianity, which is now the essential area of Bangor and the cathedral that is there, with the date, notice, 525, much earlier than Canterbury, which is coming into existence with evangelization coming in 597. I make a jump of many centuries and land in Bangor in 1840, where a certain Charles Warren, there he is in all his glory, was born in that very place, Bangor, and he rose to an important position. He was clever, so he had two arms, the military and the brain. You may know that the British Empire had an influence in the Holy Land in the 1800s and 1900s. He was an officer in the British Royal Engineers, and later General of the British Army. So he was balanced and wise. He was also an Anglican and had no axe to grind doctrinally. That's important for what I'm about to report. He participated in battles in Africa and Asia, but in 1867 he went to Jerusalem as a member now of the Palestine Exploration Fund and conducted a series of excavations that lasted until 1870. Amongst his findings is a network of galleries located under the Dome of the Rock, that's Abrahamic, as well as an underground water supply system which is named after him to this day, the Warren Shaft. He wrote things which were historically and scientifically useful about the area. And he even wrote a work entitled Underground Jerusalem. Now, he has a chapter entitled Holy Fire. He knew that something went on Holy Saturday each year. He wanted to know more. I open a parenthesis. It is the weekend of Easter for Eastern brethren who still follow the unchanged calendar of Julius Caesar. And he has this to say: "What is that fire?" Which on Easter Eve lights up the lamps in the Holy Sepulchre. That a miracle attends the ceremony, there cannot be a doubt. This actually reminds me of what you might see if you go into Bangor Cathedral to this day. A modern work of art. It's like this. Bangor Cathedral is at the foot of the university, and therefore they put something in this picture, which is very big, a corpse with the face of the Lord on it. It's quite respectful, but they put this modern bit next to it. The wound in the side is there, and not the classical Thomas with the My Lord and My God, they have a team of scientists with one at the head with the scientific instruments examining the wound in the side. It's a quiet way of actually saying something to the university. But he does the same already in 1867. Listen. He describes having obtained permission to go to the Latin gallery overlooking what's going on down there, what he sees. At last, there is a feeling that the fire is at hand. Masses of tow are thrust forward, a flash at the opening. That's of the ediculum, which was still open at the time, is seen. The tow is lighted. In a moment, as though by magic, the fire extends itself in all directions. So, the commentary here, Warren, even though he is a member of the Anglican Church, does not hesitate to acknowledge the miracle authenticity. Moreover, the miracle does not belong to the Greeks or to the Orthodox in general. Having said that, it has to happen in the hands of the successor of St. James, who has to be, therefore, the Greek patriarch historically. It belongs to all Christians, and everyone can partake in it. The holy fire cannot be imprisoned or caged within religious orders. It can, however, be enclosed in the hearts of all simple and virtuous people. It is a flash that descends from above. As he states, at this time the flash appeared at the opening of the dome, which, as I say, was still opened at that time. Furthermore, he speaks of a torch that lights simultaneously with the appearance of the flash, and immediately afterwards he describes a miraculous dissemination of the holy fire inside the church. He is not referring to the usual dissemination of the flame from candle to candle that needs quite a bit of time, but he describes a supernatural dissemination that was performed by the holy fire itself, which in a moment, as though by magic, he says, flooded the entire church with the resurrection, extending in all directions at once. An Anglican, a general of the British Army. We have this curious bit of evidence which comes from his curiosity as a scientist. He wants to know more, and he has determination to get to the source. He wants to talk to the man who was in there. We have evidence that all take part in this, interestingly enough, the Muslims as well. We have this account of 2 rivers of fire that spread inside the church, and the fact that in the middle of the 19th century where we are, the Muslims continue to attend the ceremony and celebrate the miracle with particular ardor. Listen to this bit. In this year, 1867, just a few months before his death, Bishop Meletios led the ceremony of the Holy Fire for the 29th and last time. However, it was the first time that archaeologist Warren would participate in the rite. Amazed by what he experienced inside the church, he sought to examine the nature of the miracle, and so, a few days later, he decided to meet with Meletios. Now, it just happens that something curious happened that year. was in his work, Bishop Meletios confided, now he's talking to man here, he's not telling any lies, that when he entered the interior chamber of the tomb, he placed on the tombstone a sacred relic of Christianity, the so-called Veil of Veronica. Now this is puzzling for us Catholics, but it's worth listening to. We know our tradition concerning this, which is actually pretty ancient. The source is given here. What we know is this on our part in the West. According to our tradition, the authentic veil was kept at the old basilica. Remember the old basilica of St. Peter in Rome, from the 12th to the beginning of the 17th century. What happened at that time? It was demolished and rebuilt, and we have the present Vatican complex. But the veil, at that point, historically, is no longer definitely as it was before, with an unbroken tradition. But it pops up at that time in Jerusalem. Something perhaps happened there. I leave that to experts, but I quote here. We have this account. The Turks, notice the Turks, Muslims, opened Christ's sepulchre and put out all the lamps. That's important. Then the Turkish authorities and the Pasha himself came. The church was unusually crowded and stuffy. There was nothing lit anywhere. The Patriarch went up to the main iconostasis with the consul. Meletios, the Metropolitan of Transjordan, that's because for a long, long time, a couple of centuries, the rightful Patriarch of Jerusalem resided in Constantinople. So he was the one that was doing it. Even though when he came back, and he was Kirill, the wish was that he should carry on doing it. He was used to it until he died. So, having finished the procession, all the clergy went quickly into the altar with the banners. Metropolitan Meletios stayed alone in the entrance of the sepulchre in the hands of the Turks. The Turks divested him, still happens to this day, and the authorities searched him. That still happens to this day. Then they put the omophorion on him. That's what we have as the stole, but their stole is linked here. Opened the sepulchre of Christ and let him go inside. And this is a very tense time. There's a huge waiting that goes on. Some time passed. Now God's in control of this. The appointment is every year, but it's approximately in time. Everyone is waiting. I do not know how long, but we were all beside ourselves from a kind of fear. Soon, light also appeared from the altar in the royal doors in the opening, and it flowed like two rivers of fire, one from the west, from Christ's sepulchre, and another from the east, from the altar. Oh, what joy and exultation there was in the church then! Everyone became as though drunk and besides himself. And we did not know who was saying what, or who was running where. And a great noise rolled in all the church. All were running round, all were crying out in joy and thanksgiving. Most of all, the Arab women. The Turks themselves, the Muslims, fell on their knees and cried, Allah, Allah! Oh, what a strange and most wonderful sight. The whole church was transformed into fire. Nothing could be seen in the church besides the heavenly fire, which, by the way, is miraculous. They put it on their beards, on their veils, and there's an ecstatic feeling when they do it. It doesn't burn. So, we have here what happens on Holy Saturday of 1868. Bishops of the Greek Church can be counted by tens, but where is the Bishop of Petra? The Bishop of Light, as the Arabs call him. He is not. He's gone to his reward. But this confidence that he made, man to man, to this objective researcher, Warren, is interesting. He told him that he had the veil of Veronica, and that he was going to put it that day, or had put it on that day, on the tomb, and this is what happened. The fire came, and it landed on the veil of Veronica. And it could be actually caught. He was able to collect this miraculous fire, which is not the same as anything we know. Those who know it will tell you it's not the same density as an ordinary fire. And it almost seems to have weight, because he was able to collect this face of the Lord, and the fire he was able to put into the lamp, and it lit. Today, apparently what happens is this. The patriarch goes in there. At a certain point, it varies. A bluish, greenish light, alive, starts to make itself felt inside the tomb and to come out. It comes out, one can see the point where it comes out. If one goes in there, there's a hole. And it goes around and dances. It has a life of its own, and eventually, now this is gentle, our God stoops to man. It forms a column in such a way that he can hold up his 33 candles, and with the finger of God, from this settling column of miraculous fire, it lights. And the people see the whole light coming. There's one hole they can see coming in out from outside. They can see it lightning. And he comes out and waves it, and they all get the light. And it all goes to all the patriarchs of the world. There are authorized airlines which have that permission to have it. It comes all over, all the Eastern Orthodox patriarchs have it, and it goes also as far as Vienna. It comes to Romania, Bulgaria, Moscow. It goes also to Dublin. I have Romanian friends, and I know that in the Romanian celebration they would have had it this morning, because the priest complains, you must not come just for the holy light, you must come for the whole celebration. They get it through by all kinds of means, and they know it's the real thing, lit by the hand of God. I conclude. Do you think it's all fake? I've heard so many people say, come off it. Matches. They didn't have matches in 1867. In any case, he searched. I tell you, it is God. It's the same force that on that tomb burst into our universe. Go! And he'll have the last word, the Alpha and the Omega, and all the noise of man will be silenced before him. He has the last word. He is gentle and patient. But woe betide the noise of man that thinks he can blot him out and cancel him by taking the mickey out of him. My friends, we need to be careful. God is bigger than man, and it's not wise to think the contrary.